Karen Olson, Department of Homeland Security. This island has been placed under a state of emergency by presidential proclamation, and what this means is that I am in de facto control here. Me. I may not look the part, but I'm a highly experienced agent of the Office of National Paranormal Security Management and Intelligence, OMSMI, with almost 3 years in the field. I've been on the front lines of at least 2 potentially severe incidents, including that whole thing with the Kraken. I'm sure you've heard of it. It was pretty big. Of course, I work very closely with the armed forces, but I don't get engaged in any kind of military activity myself. I'm more of a coordinator, enabler, if you will. A pure management role, but on the ground, you know? Right here with the men, making sure our response is appropriate and immediate. I'm exactly what this mission needs. Someone trained in the more esoteric, theoretical aspects of occult warfare. Someone who can advise the grunts, so to speak, and ensure that our homeland is protected. I'm sorry, this area falls under the jurisdiction of the Department of Homeland Security. I'd suggest finding another place to play. Somewhere with more bees. Wait, are you thinking about signing up for active duty? I'd call that a smart career move, seeing as how you're operating heavy artillery on American soil without the appropriate authorization. The armed forces could use a soldier like yourself, with the proper training, of course. You've all of you got potential, but the edges are rough, and your powers aren't being channeled in a very productive or legal manner. Frankly, you're a ticking bomb, a walking threat to the security of the United States of America. Lucky for you, we've got enough on our plate to deal with right now, but when the crisis has been averted, and it will be averted, I'd recommend for your own sake to either be wearing the right uniform or to cause chaos on another continent entirely.
Alpha to base, we've got
Are
the
we
20
clear?
on Delta. They are taking heavy fire. Requesting
A
extraction.
paranormal attack on American soil. Ab-terrorism. That's what we're dealing with here. Your textbook Lovecraftian invasion from the sea by mutated humans with resurrective capabilities. There are certain similarities to the whole Hamelin affair, though we haven't been able to detect any residues of magic pipes. We have received training in this exact scenario. Homeland Security is working closely with the armed forces to prevent any such incident from spreading past the initial stages. This is no different from what occurred off Cape Blanco last summer. Sure, it's a slightly bigger scale. We had the Kraken contained within 24 hours of deployment, but steps are being taken as we speak to contain and control. We don't have a lot of people on the inside, but on the outside, we've got the might of the American war machine ready to steamroll Solomon Island. We do a lot more than hassle travelers at airports. I hope you'll learn to appreciate that. Goodbye.
At ease, soldier. Christ, kid, I can see your lips moving. This is all Uncle Sam could muster up? You ought to know better than most that it's not about numbers. You got... well, what is it that you got? Magic wand? Voodoo? Well, we got guns. Guns with special bullets. Bullets that open you up from the inside out. Bullets that bring on pain and fire and darkness. Magic bullets, straight out of the Pentagon's darkest dungeons.
Karen Olson, Department of Homeland Security. Hi there, how are you? Great, let's take a walk, shall we? We're, of course, extremely excited to have you guys on board. Extremely excited. United against, etc., an enemy of my enemy, and so on. Couldn't be happier. But we don't want to end up in a situation. We like to keep our Kabbalist relations civil. It can happen to the best of us, you know, combat situation, tense nerves, and bam! We have to deal with the trimensional rift, things oozing through, tentacles, that sort of thing. I just need to make absolutely sure that we're on the same page. We need to keep out of each other's ways, leave the war to the professionals, etc. I can't give you an order because, you know, obviously, but let's just say that any civilian interference to sanctioned military activities on this island will be treated as a very real and present threat to the security of our homeland. It could end up backfiring in a bad way when you don't have the authorization from Homeland Security to operate ab-grade military software on U.S. soil, even if it is in Maine. Oh, but I hear Egypt is really nice this time of year, and you know, we don't like to get involved over there, so it's all on you guys. Best of luck.
Our only line of defense is those filthy orangutans. Goddamn foul-smelling apes is what they are, and I'm not sure how long they'll last. But you know what they say, My enemy's enemy is my friend. Unfortunately, we got no lines of communication. We don't speak monkey. But I know you folks are in touch with Gaia.
Halt!
What's next? Giant spiders? Giant cockroaches? Fucking circus clowns?
You read all that crap about government cover-ups, conspiracies? Damn right it's a cover-up. We all had too much to lose if the world knew what was going on. You think vampires could bleed virgins if everyone decorated their homes with garlic? Shit, soldier, we had deals. Signed, sealed, and delivered. They don't apply anymore. From what I hear, Turvey's gone topsy all around the globe, from Wichita to Wallachia. And I'm not sure I like our odds this time.
Sir, excuse me for a second. May I? Thanks. Listen, the captain is old school, in a good way. Believes we're fighting the same war, you know, like World War Dose. But thing is, that's not how we operate. Not when it comes to matters of the extra-normal and paracult. We have to keep things on the QT. Sub rosa. Fewer people in the know, fewer people know. And you should appreciate that, being part of the benevolent conspiracy.
The bugs are starting to gain the upper hand out here. Take away the queen bee, however, and they run around like headless chickens in a coop.
I understand that it may not look like we had the situation under control, or the right people for the job, but the whole island is under quarantine. On the other side of that fog, we have enough firepower to wipe the island clean. The infection will not spread. Believe me, we will do whatever it takes to stop the invasion right here. Whatever it takes.
We've got to use our superior training and skills to our advantage. We identify high-priority targets, and we weed them out one by one, leaving the chickens ripe for the plucking.
Heavy bug activity detected. Stay in your sectors until further advised. Hi, cruel world.
How long are we stationed here anyway?
Quick access inventory updated. Quick access inventory updated. Quick access inventory updated.
Stop.
I'll tell you one thing, kid. This isn't my first brush with the supernatural. Far from it. Our unit has seen some action. Johannesburg in '87, Siberia in '93, Rio in '08. Last month, we spent a good 4 days knee-deep in New Yorker excrement, hunting a flock of incubi that got separated from their mistress. They turned feral. Did you know that?
Yes,
They lose control. Used to be you could parley with the succubi, avoid too much bloodshed. The rules have changed. There's no negotiating with the enemy anymore.
And that's not what we're suggesting, sir, but I'm not sure that taking our limited resources into a mano-a-mano testosterone-fueled battle royale... This is not our brief. And I shouldn't have to remind you who's running the operation. Even if we can't get a signal through the fog, it's the Para Division...
I've got scars all over, and I'm not just talking about the ones that bleed. But if I've learned one thing in the past 40 years, it's that they bleed too. Every single one of them.
Yes, they do, sir, but so do we, and we bleed out a lot faster than they... Ugh! I don't even know why I fucking bother with this fucking... What the hell are you looking at? Stop.
Additional assignment received. Initializing.
Ready for some close encounters? Let's rock. Undead just means you gotta kill him twice. Watch out! Medic! Why do they never send enough medics? Those things are gonna bleed us out soon enough. We have to hold this point. Everybody fall in. Everybody fall in. Everybody fall in.
Quick access inventory updated. Radar module activated. Item located. Item located. Radar module activated. Radar module activated. Item located.
Hello.
Game over, man. Game over.
Nice to finally have some visitors. I'm sure my reputation precedes me, though only the trick-or-treaters make it past the private property sign these days. Ever since that Killian woman got run out of town, I've been the honorary island witch. A foul-tempered old widow who shut herself up in a haunted house for decades. I've always trusted my cats as better judges of character, but maybe they got me on the temper. Old? Now that I'll argue. These are Saks Fifth Avenue. But there's that temper again. My friends always told me to come back to Long Island or to Manhattan. They still do every now and again. I was a city girl once, but I'd grown to dig this weird little rock. I couldn't leave it. I couldn't leave it. And I'd be afraid to see what had happened to the city since. You ever think time goes so slowly, but then you look outside and it's been rushing past like out the window of an airplane? This house, well, you knew just to look at it that it was haunted, didn't you? A few coats of paint away from its best days, just like its owner. But it was never beautiful, unlike its owner. I used to blame the Indians. Used to think they put their evil eye on the place to take our lives. And it did take our lives. Just dead quickly, and on its own sweet time with me. DeVore was the name of the man who built it. The Blue Ridge Mine as well. The story goes the Indians cursed him for his troubles, whatever he did or didn't do to rile him up, and he lost everything. He ended up dangling for the murder of his child bride. As I was saying, I used to blame the Indians too. I called them vengeful folk who never forgave some grievance a generation old. When you look for a grudge, you find one. Oh, they were caught up in things, all right. But this house was just built bad. You picked the wrong part of the island for people watching, and the wrong season, too. I remember the old summers with those Matahando kids splashing in the river, the morning mist boiling off the marsh. Now you won't be spotting anything through this pea super. I don't get out to see people much. I don't really get out further than the porch at all, just sitting with a book and the whippoorwills. Henry Hawthorne would come out and try to save my soul every few months, and every time I tell him it's much too late for that. He likes to sketch the house. Says he's real big on late period architecture or something. And Helen Bannerman, or worse luck, her gormless deputy, are duty-bound to check I haven't died in my sleep and stunk the place up. She calls me Ellie, and I tell her, now you look here. I remember when you were still learning to walk. Terrible shame what happened to her father. Gutted fish and tragedies, that's Kingsmouth, much as I ever made of it. Survived the storm? Well, hell, I'm a tough old bird, you ask anyone in town. I survived it the same way I always do, battening down the hatches and just sitting it out. I do recall the cats taking a real hating to this one. Hissing and spitting, tails up like chimney brushes, but they're ornery creatures. Most of them were yelling before their mom even finished biting through the cord. This fog is outstaying its welcome, though. They must have put a real dampener on the town Halloween. Haven't had a single knock at the door until you showed up. Not that I'm complaining, but I do resign myself to the visits this time of year. A couple of times I thought I spied some folks out in the gardens, but Ed said no, it was nothing. Wait for it to blow over, he said, same as that big Halloween storm in '91. We get by in peace and sadness, the ghosts and I. Like in an old folks' home, I suppose. We keep each other company. The ones up in the mine, that's a different story. A real horror story. They weren't just Ed's crew. They were our friends. My soirees were the talk of Kingsmouth. A touch of New York glamour to the sticks. That's why I had the pool dug, you know. And no, I don't mean the kind of party where you leave your keys in a bowl. I know they still linger and suffer. Must be lonely under those old, cold rocks. Back in the day, when I would still leave the house, I tried to silence those voices. I called every priest, every psychic and paranormal investigator in Maine, and not one of them stayed overnight. Even the Indians and that little Ami girl authored their native mumbo-jumbo. At the time, I thought, the nerve of it, considering the part they played in the whole mess. But I suppose they were only trying to help. Sometimes, when the wind comes, I hear those boys at the mine singing. I can never quite make out the words. Please stop by again sometime.
Been held under so long, I ain't even got the memory of the man I was. No loving memory. Would you look at that? One fine day that was. How you like it, Rigsby, you undead son of a bitch? Ain't no more Christmas where you're headed.
I could sure use the thought of a drink. It's dry under these rocks. Dry and cold as the last frost.
Quick access inventory updated.
That's the stuff. Damn shame my courage died down here before I did.
Ed took the fall for Jimmy's Templar. We all fell. Seems to me, you ought to square things up with Mr. Rigsby.
Quick access inventory updated.
Digging till their hands are red. Digging when Jimmy should be dead. Ed took the fall for Jimmy's Templar. We all fell. Finish this for us.
No darkness reigns.
Well, hello there. My husband told me to expect you, so I threw on the glad rags. I used to take any excuse to socialize. Two of the best parties this backwards island has ever seen. But that coach turned into a pumpkin a long, long time ago. Now I just share this old pile with all my cats and all the ghosts. Even moved the furniture down to give them the run of the upstairs. And the view from those big windows. Oh, it was a peach of a view when I shared it with Ed. The peach trees are rotten through now. Things started changing with Ed back in that cold, cold summer of '71. Even before the ruckus with the Indians over that damned hole in the ground. Blue Ridge. Something happened up there. Started eating away at him, but he wouldn't admit to it. When he came home, if he came home at all, he shut himself in his study with all the books and maps. And he shut me out. And then there was the incident with the Indians. Ed didn't mean to kill anyone. It was self-defense, but he was tormented by it. He couldn't sleep. Suffered night terrors. He'd stay up, always scribbling in his books, on magazine covers, on the tablecloths, on the walls. I could hear this incessant scratching in the dead of night. After a while, I stopped asking him to come back to bed. I never did figure out where he kept all that writing. When his crew was found dead in the mine, it was the straw that broke the camel's neck, so to speak. I found him hanging in the attic. His face was the color of a ripe plum. But that's not how I remember him. Not how I want to remember him. He was a good man, my Ed. A good husband. A good friend. There's no shortage of secrets in this house, but Ed's lost his way. And his mind. Says he once knew how to put it all together. But he's just broken memories now. None of them good. Says the dreams came through and ate him up. And unless something is done, they'll eat us all. Says it's all in here somewhere, but he can't remember where. Goodbye now.
Hmm.